Welcome to the Real CP Show. I'm your host, CP. And today's topic, this Anglo crypto investor tortured his business partner, an Italian Caucasian male, inside this very expensive NYC brownstone building, along with a second violent Anglo suspect. But let's just focus on Black Americans, right? Yes, yes. I mean, it's the unfunniness, but funniness that in this story, because again, I wanted to do this as a timepiece purpose as well. So, this violent Anglo crypto male, along with a second violent crypto male, which I showed you the image at the beginning. And by the way, this actually was a third suspect. I showed you, which is that particular woman. And let's not forget to read this story. She was, I think, one of the assistants of the primary person on this. And she was directly there or directly observing, indirectly or directly. She knew what was going on. And instead of them arresting her, keeping her, no bonds, wherever it is, they allowed her to sit there and just be freed. And she ratted out real fast, right? Which is a whole different story when those type of women do it, right? Anyway, so the thing about it is, let me go ahead and play this particular video, this initial particular video. But again, just keep in mind, just keep paying attention and focusing on what Black Americans do, especially those Negro males who are always committing crimes. But at the same time, when these violent type Anglos like this commit these heinous violent crimes, right? Whatever. You have people, they see nothing and they hear nothing and they know nothing. And is this, by the way, going to sit there and make numbers of males within various parts of Paname's culture feel very uncomfortable now? Of course not. But the minute a Black male, which is very small amount that do any kind of criminality, as soon as one of them do something and it's plastered on the screen on various types of main media, etc., that one Black male is then the representative of the collective Black males in society. Yes, and this system knows there's just not enough numbers of Black males, right, that are involved in the way of saying enough of this boogeyman anti-American Black rhetoric, enough. Because of Black male pain. It's so intense. Numbers of Black males say, I don't want to talk about that no more. And then what continues to happening? More Black male pain. You see how this goes, right? So let's go ahead and play this particular first video. 1 second here. Okay. All right, make sure that's correct. All right, make sure. All right, here we go.
And we are following some breaking news right now. A man claims he was tortured and held hostage inside a pricey brownstone of a cryptocurrency entrepreneur in Soho. And good evening to you. At 6 o'clock, I'm Liz Cho.
And I'm Bill Ritter. We're going to begin with that breaking news. The NYPD tonight questioning that cryptocurrency entrepreneur about what happened in his $75,000 a month apartment. A man from Italy claims he was tied up and tortured for 2 weeks by the entrepreneur.
He says he managed to escape. And tonight we are learning new information about what happened and what police say. Eyewitness News reporter Josh Einiger is live in Soho with the breaking news. Josh.
Liz, you don't hear something like this every day, and every new detail we hear is more disturbing than the one before. In the brownstone behind me, cops say they've uncovered a sadistic torture ring led by a group of crypto bros who source.
And by the way, and you see the little silly little words that they've put, crypto bros. You said it goes, right? And again, it goes bypassed by certain numbers of males. Because you had this thing called the passport bros, right? You see this little similarity of little slick little words, right? How people do stuff. So these particular Caucasian males, oh, they were the crypto bros. But what did I sit there and relay over earlier, right? There was another suspect, a Caucasian female. So where's all that old crypto woman person at? Crypto brother with crypto sister in there. See, some of these males are so naive, right? And they handpicked, right? They are so silly, right? You see how this little handpicked one said, oh my goodness, crypto, not him personally, but it's like a crypto bros. But when that another woman with a woman's a violent Anglo, or excuse me, direct Anglo woman was involved in this, and she's not even mentioned in this particular situation along with the crypto bros. Games.
Sources say tied up their victim, tortured him with electrical current, pistol whipped him, and then fired up a chainsaw and threatened to cut off his limbs, all to have access to his fortune in cryptocurrency.
But let's just keep paying attention to those Negro males always committing crimes, even though the number one male that do commit the most crimes is numbers of males within various sections of Panama-based culture. And then when that reality point gets relayed over, oh well, it's about the rate of violent crime. Stop. Right? Because then what about white collar crimes? Huh? What about that rate, which would still be numbers of males and certain numbers of women within the Panama-based culture, even with the rate would still be high. What white collar, white male, white woman pain, right? No such thing as that. But Caucasian numbers of white male and white women, embezzlement, switchery, propaganda, generationalness, right? The one it's applies to. You see how that goes, right?
At an opulent brownstone on Prince Street, a most unusual sight. Police emerged with a handcuffed man in a bathrobe who stood in the rain barefoot as they patted him down and tried to make sense of a depraved story they'd heard from another man who claimed he'd been held against his will here for weeks.
I mean, everything else happens, but that one is a new one, and no, that's just insane.
This morning, a 28-year-old man from Italy approached a traffic agent and said he'd escaped captivity at 38 Prince Street, having been held hostage and beaten. Police quickly moved in.
I saw like a sort of SWAT team going with the shields, and then shortly after that, I saw a guy in a white robe and handcuffs come out.
The guy comes out in a white bathrobe, barefoot, hands cuffed behind his back, got into a police car. He didn't look concerned, you know. He didn't look worried or anything like that.
The man in the bathrobe was, according to cops, a cryptocurrency entrepreneur who rents the home. Police say he'd had a business dispute with the victim who'd moved to his native Italy after a falling out months ago. But he returned May 6th, and that's when police say the home's occupant and another person effectively took the victim hostage and tortured him, tying him up, beating him, even tortured him, tying him up, beating him, even. And another person effectively took the victim hostage and tortured him, tying him up, beating him, even throwing him through furniture. Police say the victim has traumatic injuries consistent with having been beaten. Inside the house, they say they found multiple Polaroid pictures of him being tied up and tortured, along with multiple torture items in view. They also found a gun. The house, all 8 bedrooms and 10 bathrooms, sits set back from the sidewalk on this busy block in Soho. It was rented just a couple of months ago. Its most recent listing price, $75,000 per month. Sidewalk vendor Kieran Tully has been watching that house for months and says something's been off. He just never knew what.
I've seen people go in and out all the time and never really ever saw the same person twice. So we were wondering what was going on in there.
Well, something apparently was. We are blurring the suspect's picture in that video because police have not formally charged him or named him publicly, but he's being questioned right now at the NYPD's 5th precinct. They're also seeking at least one other person they say was involved in this depravity. As for the victim, sources say he chose today to stage his escape because his tormentors told him they would kill him today. Right now, he's being treated at Bellevue Hospital.
Mm, 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 mm. So this violent particular male within the sectionality of predominant culture, by this one, like any other different cultural backgrounds, you have ones that are bad and ones that are not necessarily bad, right? On this one right here, a violent type of Anglo male. And the second accomplice was this other violent Anglo male, right? And then the third one that probably played victim, right? Because you know how that go. Ones that put on crocodile tears and, oh my goodness, they made me sit there and watch the torture and the beatdown and all these monster type things that they did to that man. They made me do it, right? While she is getting paid good. You see how that goes, right? And the system knows it, especially ward feminists. They know it. You must sit there and collectively give numbers of violent women, assaulting women, rapists, rapist type women that do these things to young males, young girls, male men. You must give these pedophile type women, numbers of ones who do this, you must give them overall free pass. You must say they're suffering from mental illness. You must give some type of non-accountability with very few exceptions. And there is a list of examples where numbers of women were right there with that particular man, especially within certain parts of Panamanian culture, committing violent acts or white collar crimes, and they get either slap on the wrist or a few years, but collectively it's like 90,000% they get nothing collectively, even though they was just as involved as that male. It's done on purpose. So the second quick video I wanted to show, this second quick one is about him as well. The first one, real fast, because but again, remember, just focus on Black Americans, right? Especially the Negro males. Focus on what they been doing, right? You see how the disgusting game goes, right? Let's show this right here. Give me 1 second here. Okay. Here we go. Make sure I got that correct. All right.
Did you kidnap that tourist? Tonight, 37-year-old John Woltz, a crypto investor from Kentucky, stands accused of kidnapping and for more than 2 weeks torturing an Italian business partner.
What happened in those 2 weeks?
Woltz arrested by NYPD officers Friday, allegedly detained the 28-year-old Italian citizen in this high-priced home in downtown Manhattan. Law enforcement sources close to the investigation say the men and a third partner had been in business together for years and that there had been violent incidents in the past.
John, did you kidnap that tourist?
But again, Let's just focus on Black Americans, right? So you see how that disgusting game goes. And unfortunately, there are some other non-Black, the ones who are involved in this kind of who hide under people of color generic nonsensical banner, who hide under communities of color nonsensical banner, which dilutes specifically Black Americans going through centuries of Black pain. And there are some naive type numbers within them, certain types of Black Americans that are naive as hell. When they sit there and regurgitate people of color, minorities, BPOC, that means Black, Indigenous people of color. Let me tell you what, this is what people do when they hear numbers of Black saying such foolish stuff. Yes, because it dilutes down specifically Black American pain. And then you throw in some additional tethers who know they are the ones who hide under the banner of Black, but they're not Black Americans, the one this applies to. But they'll sit there and jump in front when there's some kind of benefit to say, oh, I'm Black. But at the same time, when the heat is going on, no, I am from this particular Caribbean island, the one this applies to. Right? I'm from certain other tribes within certain parts of certain sections of Africa. No, that now it's tribes. Or they belong to that country. You see how that goes, right? You see a little disgusting tactic with that. Again, to the one this applies to. So let me just relay over and about to finish up. Let me sit there and just show I'll read some of this article. Give me one moment. Another one to read out. Okay. Right here. I'll make sure you see that. What we know about the NYC crypto kidnapping and torture case. Two Caucasian males, are accused of torturing a 28-year-old Italian Caucasian male over his Bitcoin password. All right. New York, a cryptocurrency dispute led to an alleged kidnapping and torturing of an Italian Caucasian male in a luxury New York City townhouse for over 2 weeks. By the way, that is human trafficking, right? That's human trafficking, regardless. But notice how various parts of the main media who know they're guilty in the complicitousness, and some other people who are naive to keep acting as if human trafficking is only dealing with women. And there are women human traffickers, by the way. And unfortunately, there is some certain numbers of naive males that have been diluted in the mentality to only see numbers of women as angelic. And this is why numbers of feminists laugh at certain numbers of males within certain parts of plant-based culture. This is why certain numbers of women within American Black womanism, the ones it applies to, who laugh at certain type of Black American males, the one it applies to say, oh my goodness, they're so easy to fool. Right? So, two Anglo American men, John Waltz, which is not typical American white male, so he falls under some kind of minority, but he can slot under the generic white banner and stuff like that. 37 years old. He was only 37. And William Duplessis or something like that. He was only 33. Now face kidnapping, assault, unlawful imprisonment charges in the case, and should add human trafficking in there. But let's just again focus on what Black American males are doing, right? What Black American people are doing. I'm not talking about coons and sellouts and gullibles, because I'm not talking about them, right? From what we know, this was a dispute over crypto money. They all know each other, but this was a kidnapping for roughly 17 days where they tortured this person, this Caucasian Italian male. When I say torture, forced them to take narcotics, put his feet in water, and shocked his feet and other types of torture for 17 days. The last 28-year-old victim, Italian Caucasian male, he was only 20 years old. whose name has not publicly released by authorities, which his name was eventually released. He talks about how he arrived in New York from Italy on May the 6th and went to Walt's 8-bedroom sold townhouse. Waltz and Duplessis allegedly lured the man to New York from Italy by threatening to have his family unalive. But let's just focus on Black Americans, right? Black American males, right? And act like that they are the only people who commit some criminality when the overall amount of Black males and overall amount of Black people do not commit the most crimes, period. But again, even per rate, many of those heinous crimes, many of those white collar crimes are still done overall amount by numbers of males within various parts of Vietnamese culture. Right? But you see how that game goes. Again, even the rate, white collar crimes is still per rate, still more by numbers of males and certain numbers of women within the Vietnamese culture committing more white collar crimes than Black American males and Black American women. So it don't matter either overall number or overall amount of rate. That little game switchery. It is still in many crimes still done by various types of males and various types of numbers of women within various parts of Vietnamese culture, right? Are the primary ones, and then some other ones and some other cultures who are who slide under the fence, who do some criminality, but they're not showcased. They're not showcased too much, and that's why they kind of slide under the radar. But again, once the alleged victim arrived, he was stripped of his electronics and passport, bound by the wrist, and subjected to beatings, electric shock, and a hit to the head from a boom piece of equipment. Waltz allegedly carried the alleged victim to the top flight of stairs and hung him over the ledge and threatened to unalive him if he did not provide his Bitcoin password. The alleged victim told authorities Waltz and Duplessis used a saw to cut his leg, urinated on him, and forced him to smoke crack cocaine by holding him down or forcing a pipe into his mouth. Alleged victims escaped. On Friday morning, the man escaped from the home, running to a traffic enforcement officer for help. The alleged victim was taken to a local hospital in stable condition. But at the same time, they want to sit there and act like and focus on, oh my goodness, look at the Black males. Let's look what they're doing. Last one article I want to sit there and talk about real fast is about the other suspect, what they was talking about. Remember, they talking about another suspect. Another suspect is arrested in the Bitcoin kidnapping and torture case. The man, William Duplessis, surrendered to enforcement Tuesday. Today is May the 29th, 2025. Authorities have said the victim was an Italian man who was tormented in a luxury Manhattan townhouse for weeks. So I'm not going to read too much about this. Again, you see this little violent, disgusting, white-collar crime, violent type of male within certain sections of the Vietnamese culture, right? A third person accused of kidnapping a man and torturing him for nearly 3 weeks to steal his Bitcoin fortune surrendered to the police in New York City on Tuesday morning. So the police identified the man who has connections to Switzerland and Miami as William Duplessis, 33. He has spent days negotiating his surrender with the police department after arrest on Friday of 2 other suspects. One of the people arrested on Friday was John Wars, we're talking about 37, cryptocurrency investor, faces kidnapping, assault, firearms charges. The other, remember I was saying the other, Beatrice, whatever it is, Fochi, whatever this is, 24, that's the particular woman who was initially charged by enforcement with kidnapping and unlawful imprisonment, was quickly released and her prosecution was deferred. You see how they said that this informal, or she could have been formal, violent monster will sit there and say, quickly let go. And she was right there involved, be it direct or indirect. And this is why, again, feminists, also one of the most deadliest mental manipulation type forces within sections, within certain parts within America. Yes, yes. So again, in closing, again, let's just focus on seeing what those black Negroes are doing, especially those black violent Negro males are doing, right? Instead of focusing on people who commit collectively the most crimes and various types of white collar crimes and certain sections of violent crime who commits the most violent numbers, criminality, and various ones who various parts of ones within certain sections of Panama-based culture, the ones applies to, who also commit rate wise type violent crimes, and especially white collar criminality. Again, I'm talking about the ones it applies to. Now, don't get it confused. There are some other cultures who dip and dap under the white racial banner who know who they are. Oh, they know who they are, right? But it's not the topic for today on that. So, hope this was an interesting show because, again, it's so simple that it's almost so easy that certain sections within certain parts of American Blackism have allowed so many people to play little disgusting manipulative games to act like it's black folks who are the most criminality. But you see in this situation, there were 3 violent, direct and indirect members within certain sections of Panama-based culture who did this horrendous criminality toward the Caucasian Italian crypto investor person too. That was a business partner, which they human trafficked him. Again, is this going to sit there and have people within America to look at numbers of males now different and hold their purses or hold their wallets or walk on the other side of the sidewalk or look at them, doubly or triply and see what they're doing? Is that going to sit there and make more people sit there and do that? Is it? Of course not. Because it's been allowed to sit there and just focus on Black Americans who helped build this country more than anybody else besides certain ones within the Panama-based culture, who have had Black folks who have had the most laws and policies put upon them more than anybody else in this country, along the political establishment, business establishment, and even parts of churches who will sit there, who were involving themselves on keeping segregation alive within Americanism. I mean, the list goes on and on. Certain parts of enforcement, etc. I mean, the list goes on. But at the same time, gets no reparations. And unfortunately, there are some problems going on within certain parts of American Blackism, especially modern day, that is allowed to be going on like that. While other persons who know that can get reparations, right? But American Blacks who have been the dynamo of the foundation of America that has had the most culturally insensitive, inhumane treatment over centuries, still get no reparations. And it's one thing if Black folks were getting reparations and numbers of Black males the ones who had problem situations and in prison, and there were programs specifically to help more Black males out and things like that from the imprisonment part of it, instead of a system making sure to try to get a low recidivism, right, to get more or keep low recidivism, depending where you're at, or no, not to have low recidivism, right, to have high recidivism to put them back in the prison, right, See how that goes. Because without black males, right, being the primary source of certain type of imprisonment, then there is no prison complex. I thank you for tuning in to the Real CP Show.